Great, thank you. All right, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for the Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisations Governance, Resilience, Opportunities and Workforce Grant Program session. And that's shortened throughout the presentation as the ACCO Grow Grants Program, which of course is a lot shorter than the full title. So you'll have, I guess, a bit of an understanding of that as we go through. So my name is Nolene Timbry. I'm currently the manager of the Aboriginal Sector Engagement and Pathways team. And today our team will be hosting this session alongside the DCJ Grants and Funding team and our colleagues from New South Wales Treasury, who we've partnered with to bring you these grants. This session has been designed to help you understand the grant, the application process, eligibility for the grants, the assessment process, and the next steps moving forward. So before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. Next slide, please. Thank you. So please keep your cameras off and your microphones on mute. There will be time at the end of the session to ask questions. You can type your questions in the chat or raise your hand during question time. As I stated, we are recording this presentation part of the session only, and we're looking at whether we can include the recording as part of the grant information online alongside the frequently asked questions. So any questions that we don't actually get to through the question time, we will take them on notice, and we'll also add those to the frequently asked questions. So keep an eye on that if your question doesn't get answered today. We'll move into, next one. And of course, I want to acknowledge country and the traditional custodians of the lands that we're all joining from today. I'm joining you from the traditional lands of the Bidjigal people, which I'm a proud Bidjigal woman, so I'm very lucky to still live and work on country, and I'm very thankful for that. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the land and waters in New South Wales. I also acknowledge and pay respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us here today, and special respects to you guys for working in this sector and wanting to work along or continuing to work alongside DCJ to support Aboriginal families who still remain very vulnerable in our system. We'll jump straight into it. So a little bit about the grants and the grants opportunity. So the purpose, I've just jumped around a little bit. So the ACCO Grow Grants Program is a New South Wales government initiative designed to strengthen, support and uplift Aboriginal community-controlled organisations across the state. The program provides up to $1 million in one-off funding to help ACCOs build their internal capability, improve organisational systems and strengthen their role in delivering culturally safe services for Aboriginal children, families and communities. At its core, the ACCOs Grow Grant Program seeks to encourage sustainable organisational growth, particularly among ACCOs working in the areas such as early intervention, early childhood education and care, family support, child and maternal health, domestic and family violence services, and other supports that benefit Aboriginal children and families in New South Wales. The grants are not for establishing new ACCOs. Instead, the program is specifically designed to strengthen existing organisations by investing in their strategic workforce, governance and operational capacity. The grant looks to prioritise small and emerging ACCOs, including those looking to expand into other child and family program areas. Next slide. Thank you. So the grant objectives. The program centres on 4 key objectives: strengthening workforce capability, enhancing governance and strategic partnerships, supporting business strategy and financial sustainability, and building culturally appropriate data capability and outcomes measurement. And this includes funding for projects and activities such as workforce training and leadership development, improvement in governance practice through governance reviews or governance training for your board members, support for strategic and business planning, financial management and partnership development, development of frameworks and systems for improved data collection, outcomes measurement and evaluation, and other activities that improve organisational resilience and sustainability. These objectives directly respond to feedback from the sector and align with Priority Reform 2 of the National Agreement on Closing the Gap. And that focuses on building the Aboriginal community-controlled sector by enabling ACCOs to deliver high-quality, community-led services. Next slide. So who is the opportunity for? The funding is for existing ACCOs in New South Wales that are delivering or seeking to deliver services to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children and their families, including those working in early intervention and family support, parenting programs, early childhood education and care, child and maternal health, domestic and family violence, and other family-focused services. To support this, the program offers 2 funding categories. So grants of a minimum of $3,000 up to $15,000 for smaller initiatives, and then $15,001 to $50,000 for larger capability building projects. Please note that the requirement of one of the requirements of the grant is that all funds are to be spent within a 12-month period concluding no later than 30 June 2027. Next slide. Okay, a little bit about the eligibility criteria. So eligible applicants must be not-for-profit ACCOs governed and operated by Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islander people connected to the communities where they deliver their services. They must hold an ABN, be registered for GST and be based in New South Wales. Overall, the ACCOs Grow grant program represent a strategic investment in strengthening Aboriginal-led organisations so they can continue to deliver culturally grounded, community-driven services that support long-term wellbeing for Aboriginal children and families across New South Wales. And you'll see on the right-hand side of the slide there, there's just a list of, I guess, not eligible. So if you were any of those, so an individual, any of the governments, educational facilities, a for-profit organisation, if you were unincorporated, if you don't meet the project requirements, if you're an organisation with a redress obligations under the National Redress Scheme, if you have overdue acquittals with DCJ, so that's if you're currently funded by them, by DCJ, and you have overdue acquittals reporting, or if you don't have the appropriate insurance, unfortunately that makes you ineligible for these grants. Next slide. So some examples of activities or projects that might be funded or that can be funded. So this slide provides some examples of projects, activities that align with the objectives of the grant program and could be funded. This is not an exhaustive list and only provides an example, is only provided for example purposes. I really encourage everyone to read the grant program guidelines and the frequently asked questions for further information on what can and cannot be funded under the grant. Yeah, let's go to that next slide. So just to walk you through a bit of the applications program, applications process, I'm going to hand over to Rosita Lara, who's our colleague in the grants design and support team. Thanks, Rosita.
Thank you, Nalin. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this information session for the ACCO Grow Grant Program. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. We are all meeting on today. I am in Darkinjung land in the Central Coast. My name is Rosita Lara. I am an acting senior grants officer. I lead and support funding initiatives that strengthen community services and outcomes. How do you apply for the grant program? The applications are now opened. They open on the 4th of February 2026, and the grant program, you can find the link in the at dcj.smartygrants.com.au ACCO Grow. By clicking on that grant, you will be able to go into our website, and I am going to share my screen for a minute. Can you let me know if you see it, please, Nolene or someone?
Yep, thanks, Rosita.
Yep. All right. So this is the grant application form that you will be able to see it. You can either start a submission straight away. You can preview the form, and that's will give you a preview of what the form looks like. You can also download the form and share it with somebody for their completion, or fill it out or complete it later. So that is the form, what it looks like, and the form has on the right side, it'll have your navigation. This is the number of pages that you need to complete. First page is about what the grant is all about. Then we move on to what is the eligibility required for the grant as per the guidelines. And like Nolene advised before, please read your guidelines program, and whether you're eligible or not will be on the second page. Then we move on to third page, which is the organization details. What is your organization name, details, phone number, who are your primary contact details, your banking details, very necessary for when if you are successful, we need to do the transfer of funds to that account that is provided here. At the same time, we also ask you to provide us with the bank statement. It is necessary so we can make sure that the BSB details and account number are correct and belong to the organization that we're paying the funds to. Finance contact details, it's also another field that is necessary. If you are successful, we need to make sure that the funds are going to the right account. Signatories. The signatories are the two people, authorized signatories from your organization that are authorized to sign the grant funding agreement on behalf of the organization. There will be two people required here, and the details to be entered on this page. Following the next page will be the project details. What is the project about? What are you intending to, what are you seeking funding for? The details, the title of your project, a brief description of what is that about, when it's going to start, when is it going to end. Remember that all the projects must end by the 30 June 2027, sorry. Where is going to be the primary location of your project? The planning, it's all in here. What are you planning to do? Next will be the assessment criteria. And this is the criteria that, as per the guidelines, it has been, there are four criteria: relevance, impact, implementation, and prioritization, all to do with your project and what are you intending to do. Each criteria question, it's in here, so complete. The fields will be ready for you to complete in here. No more than 200 words per question to be answered. And criteria 1 has 2 questions, criteria 2 another 2 questions, criteria 3 1 question, and criteria 4 is 2 more questions. Next page is your project budget. We have 2 categories in the funding for available to apply. The grant amounts from $3,000 up to $15,000, category 1. Category 2, its grant amounts from $15,001 up to $50,000. So we ask you here to advise what is the amount that you're seeking. the activities that are not are excluded from the grant funding, and the project budget. Please let us know in here, enter the details of what are you budgeting for and how the funds will be expended. The next page is your last page, which is the declaration and your authorization. The person that is authorized to sign this form, email details, and sign and submit. The submit button will be on the bottom in here. Remember that once you submit your application, you will not be able to edit it, and you will receive an email from Smarty Grants portal to advise you that your submission has been received by us. If down the line you need to do any amendments before the closing date and you want to reopen the application, please reach out. That's an email address, grantdesignersupport@dcj.nsw.gov.au. Contact us and we'll be able to reopen the form. Remember, it must be before the closing date. After the closing date, we are not allowed to reopen any forms, and we will read your application as it is. Next page, please. Okay, so I just run by the application form. The insurance, you are required to have current public liability insurance for $10 million. That is the minimum. And please upload a document that also will be with your application form regarding the insurance. Next page, please. Tips. Yes, you will receive, as I noted before, an email with your application ID number and the contact details for queries upon submission of your application. Remember to save the form as you are completing it. You may save it and then return to it later or the next day. So as long as the application is saved, you can always go back to it. Any amendments prior to the closing date, please reach out. If you have submitted, you need to do amendments, please let us know to reopen your grant application. Next page, please. How is your application assessed? Next page. The assessment process. All applications will be initially reviewed and ensure that it is compliant and meet the eligibility criteria that is as per the guidelines. All eligible applications will then be assessed by a panel of independent assessors. Each application will be reviewed by two separate assessors. They will be independent from each other. They will not see what each other one is assessing, and they will be scoring each of the criteria questions. Once those applications are through the independent assessors, it'll go through the assessment panel for review. The assessment panel will make final recommendations for funding, and they will provide a report to the delegated decision maker. The decision maker will consider the panel recommendations and make a final decisions. Once the final decision is made, you will receive an email from Smarty Grants to notify you the outcome of your application. Nolene, do you want to take this, please?
Yeah, thanks, Rosita. So just talking about the assessment criteria, your application will be assessed against the four key assessment criteria that you see on the screen to ensure projects align with the program's intent and deliver meaningful benefits for Aboriginal children, families and communities. So going through the four criteria: relevance. This assesses how well the proposed activities align with the grant's objectives and the extent to which applicants have outlined clear outcomes and a plan to apply learnings beyond the grant period. Impact considers the potential of the project to strengthen the organisation's capability, enhance service delivery, and support positive outcomes for Aboriginal families, as well as the applicant's capacity to engage with community in a culturally respectful way. Implementation examines whether the organisation has the necessary experience, resources, and planning to deliver the project effectively, including a budget that is reasonable, realistic, and proportionate to expected outcomes. And finally, prioritisation gives preference to small and emerging ACCOs or those seeking to expand into new child and family service areas, while also supporting equitable geographic distribution of funded projects across New South Wales. These criteria together ensure that funding supports initiatives that are impactful, achievable, culturally grounded, and strategically aligned with strengthening Aboriginal communities and strengthening the Aboriginal community controlled sector. Sorry, Karishma. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So partnering with ACCOs, or I guess in DCJ speak, we'd call that subcontracting. DCJ will only provide a grant to a single organisation. However, organisations can work together to apply for the grant using subcontracting arrangements between them, where the activity or project would be more beneficial if it is progressed in partnership. The applicant or lead organisation will retain the contractual obligations to DCJ under the grant funding agreement for delivery and accountability. You can provide details of partnering organisations if relevant in the application form. Please note that all partnering organisations must meet the eligibility criteria. And there's an example of what you could, I guess, a partnering situation on the screen. For avoidance of doubt, you may choose to hire third parties, external contractors, or to support the delivery of capability building activities or projects. These fee-for-service arrangements may be with non-Aboriginal organisations, individuals, and should be included in your budget. Next slide. And I think I'm handing back to you, Rosita.
Thank you. What happens if you are successful? Once your application is being successful and you have received notification from this Mighty Grants portal, you will receive also, the next step is the grant funding agreement, and to be signed by your authorized signatories. So all the successful applicants will receive an electronic email via Adobe Sign, which is our digital signature, and that's how you will sign your funding agreement. It'll go from the first authorized signatory. Once that person has signed it, it'll move on to the next person automatically. Adobe Sign will do that for you, and it will go to the next person to sign it digitally. You can sign it on the phone as well if you're not at your laptop or computer. You can just sign it using your mobile phone. Remember that it is a requirement once the grant funding agreement has been emailed to the first authorized signatories. You only have 2 weeks to sign it and send it back to us. The funding agreements can only be signed by the authorized officers of your organization. So it is your responsibility to carefully read the terms and conditions of the grant funding agreement together with your program guidelines, your grant application, and sign that agreement using the correct authorized signatories. If for whatever reason the signatory is no longer available and you need to get somebody else to sign it, let us know so we can amend the name of the person and send that funding agreement to the correct person. Once we have received the granting agreement, DCJ will countersign that funding agreement and return it an executed copy to you by email for your records. And any variations to the grant funding agreement, remember that must be formally requested and approved in writing and you can send us an email. Again, our email address is there, grantdesign@dcga.nsw.gov.au, for anything that is variations to the grant funding agreement or the project itself. Next slide. Variations can be happening to the project scope. If anything changes with the scope, the location of the project, the completion timeframes must be formally requested and approved in writing by DCJ. So please reach out if anything changes with your project. Our email address is in there, and also remember your project must be concluded by the 30 June 2027. Please keep all the financial records related to the grant project, and following the conclusion of the project 30 June 2027, you'll have approximately 4 weeks to submit your final report and acquittal statement. It will be sent to you by email by the Smarty Grants portal. So you will have some time to produce that final report and acquittal. At the same time, we will also ask you to complete a midterm report. Around about 6 months mark, we will ask you a few details about how the project is progressing. Again, you will receive a form by Smarty Grants portal, simple midterm report form that you will need to complete it online and send it by the portal, submitted by the portal. The successful recipients may be invited to a learnings workshop with other successful applicants to reflect on the learnings and impact of the program. DCJ will be in touch with you if we were doing a learnings workshop. Next page, please. This is our timeline. The grant application, the grant round is open on the 4th of February, and it will be closing on the 19th of March 2026. Please note, no late applications will be accepted after the 19th of March at 4 p.m. So please try to submit it before the 19th if possible. Then we will go through the assessment process, which will be around about April period, and notifications of outcomes will be done in May. The announcements will be made around about May as well, and everything will be published in the New South Wales Grants Finder, who has been successful in June 2026. And the projects are to commence on 1 July 2026, concluding on 30 June 2027, and your final report and acquittal by 30 July 2027. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosita. Look, thank you everybody for attending. We will take some questions in a moment, but for further review, before you start your application, I really encourage you to have a really good look at the grant program guidelines and the frequently asked questions that you'll find online there as well. Thank you again for attending. We will stop the recording now.